Hey, thanks for joining us online today. If you'd like to be a part of the conversation, connect with us on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram. We hope you enjoy this message.
Here's a glimpse, right, of where we're going to be. So making change is the overall title. Next week, stress is bad. Yes, right? Giving is good. Tomorrow matters. And today, less is more. Now, I think we've been programmed in our culture just the opposite. I think we've been programmed to believe more is better. In other words, one is good, but two is better. $1 is good, two is better. Right, guys? One car is good. A car and a truck is better, you know? How about this, right? Ladies, one pair of shoes is good. Two is better, you know, especially if they're on sale. You know, we've been programmed. Hey, Hostess has realized this. By the way, I'm just saying, somebody got into my cupcakes. I'm just saying. This was two at the beginning of today. It's a half of one now. But Hostess realized this whole thing, right? They realized this whole thing. They don't package one cupcake, they package two, because one is good, but trust me, two is better, you know? We've bought into this as a culture. So more is better is a lie that the enemy of our soul has told us since the beginning of the time. Our great-great-great-great-great-great-great-grandparents, Adam and Eve, right, experienced this live. So they have all their needs met for fruit. They have orange trees, they have cherry trees, they have peach trees. But there was one tree in the middle of the garden that they weren't supposed to touch. Now, that was an apple tree. Now, the Bible doesn't say it was an apple tree, but every picture I've seen of them taking a bite out of the fruit, it was an apple, you know? And so let's just say it was an apple. So Satan comes to them on a given day and says, he shines a spotlight on the apple. And he says, I bet you never had one of those before. He said, this is good. And he said, I've got news for you. The big guy's been holding out on you. The big guy's been holding out on you. And so more is better. They look at it and they eat it, and life changes for them in an instant, you know, because of the lie. This is what the big lie was. It's a fill-in the notes. You can go ahead and write this in. The big lie is this: what you don't have is what you need. What you don't have is what you need. And so we brought into that lie ever since. So it's more money, it's more clothes, it's more stuff that we may not need. So Solomon, he's a guy that wrote part of the Bible. And he wrote the part of the Bible that's he was called the wisdom writer. And so he wrote the part of the Bible that are the wisdom books. You know, Song of Solomon, Proverbs, and Ecclesiastes were written by him. I mean, if you just read a proverb a day for a month, you'd be way far down the road. And so this is what he said about more is better. He said, better is one handful with tranquility than two handfuls with toil and chasing the wind. So let us set in just for a minute. Let's read out loud together. Okay, ready? Here we go. Better is one handful with tranquility than two handfuls with toil and chasing after the wind. Because one handful's good. It's that second one that can mess us up and cause us a lot of stress in life as we pursue that. And so think of it just practically, right? If we have one hand full, we have another hand free. Someone falls, we can help them up. If we have one handful and he chooses to bless us with a little bit more in the second handful, we have a second handful we don't need. So if someone is in need, we have it to offer to somebody else. If we have one handful and the other is free, then we can offer comfort to someone going through a hard time, right? Less is better. That's what Solomon was saying. So the big idea of this message is this. You write this in. If we can shift our focus from less of what doesn't matter, then we experience more of what does matter. When we shift our focus from less of what doesn't matter, we can experience more of what does matter. So I put this in there. Let me put you to work just for a little bit besides fill in the blanks. So what matters most? One word. I put 3 blanks. If you get 3, that's good. If you get 2, it's all right. What matters most to you? Take 30 seconds and just fill in those blanks. So one pastor, he posted the question on social media and people began to write in and respond. And I think their responses are going to be similar to ones that you have written down. For instance, these were the popular ones. This is what matters most, family. This is what matters most, marriages. This is what matters most, kids. This is what matters most, health. This is what matters most, God. How many, by the way, you had at least 1 or 2 of those on your list, would you? Yeah, so that's what matters most. But I tell you what did not make the list. What matters most is a new leather sofa. Didn't make the list. What matters most is new countertops. What matters most is a hoverboard. What matters most is the number of followers we have on Instagram. Somehow that did not make the list. But yet, this is a paradox. We made our list, but yet, we can spend a lot of time and our energy expending the things that don't matter most to us in life. The big idea is less is better. And when we shift our focus from less of what doesn't matter to more of what does, it changes our life. So this message, July 4th weekend, my gift to you is this message is going to be short. This message is going to be simple, and it's going to be sweet. So right quick. So here we go. You ready? First fill-in is this. 3 keys to less is more living. Cut back. Cut back. If less is better, say that with me. Would you say less is better with me? Less is better. I almost felt like I was swearing when I said that this morning in church, because we live opposite of that. Less is better, right? Then what we need to do is figure out what the steps are to that, and cutting back is one. So in between churches, I was at one church, my first church for 17 years, had an in-between period. And during that period, I had my own business. I was a small contractor who did little jobs that big contractors don't want to do. For instance, people love it if you come and just tile their bathroom floor. They love it if you come and patch all the holes in the wall and paint it. They just love that. If they got a small roof repair, they love it when you fix that stuff. And so this was my construction vehicle. 1995 Sport Coupe Toyota Paseo. I put the back seat down, throw all my saws in there, drills, nails, everything. I strapped 2 ladders to the roof. Can you imagine this, right? Somebody refers me to you. I pull up in that. You're like, where's the truck? Don't get out of the car. Where's your truck? But this is what I found. I did this one job down in the city of Buffalo, and a house I think was built in like 1910. Houses were different back then. You want to see something interesting? Can I tell you what? The kitchen was big. Living room, big. They were gathering parts for the community and for the family. Can I tell you what? Bedrooms were small. Bedroom closets didn't exist in some of those rooms. And if they did, they were small. I mean, guys, right? After all you need is 2 shirts, a pair of jeans, and a dress pants. Amen? I don't know what the ladies did back there, ladies. I don't try to pretend. But all I know is it fit in a 2x3 closet. So they did less, And so contrast that with houses today. There's closets all over the place, like big closets you can walk into. They have closets in some houses that are motorized, and the clothing rack spins, so you stand in the middle, just pick out your clothes. Hey, if you fill up that closet, guess what? There's another part of the house. It's called a garage. Now, garages were designed for Yeah, but if we get too much stuff, the car's outside and we have a garage full of stuff, and if that's not enough, we rent a place down on Transit to store the rest of our stuff because we buy into this thing as a culture that more is better. So Jesus talking to this guy one time. He was a wealthy guy, and he accumulated a lot of stuff. And so one day he comes to him and he says to him, he says, what else must I do to inherit eternal life? And so let me paraphrase. Jesus looks at him and says one word: downsize. Downsize. The scripture says the guy went away sad because he had built everything on what he could gather. And I think he went away sad because maybe, just maybe, he loved his stuff more than he loved Jesus. You know, on another occasion, Jesus was addressing the same thing. And this is what he said, you know, in that verse. It was in Luke 12:15. I put it in the notes. He said this: be on your guard against all kinds of greed. A man's life does not consist in the abundance of your possessions. He was so counterculture. How about if you read that one out loud with me, would you? Be on your guard against all kinds of greed. A man's life does not consist of the abundance of your possessions. See, let me get this straight. There's nothing wrong with having a lot of stuff. The Bible's clear. Some will be rich and some will be poor, right? Nothing bad about that. There's a problem when our stuff owns us. There's a problem when we have a lot of stuff and it's not enough, and we crave more of it. Instead of accumulating what doesn't matter, what if this? What if less is truly more? And it would free us up to do what does matter. What if having less meant that we had more time with our family and friends? And if we have one handful and, you know, we don't have to pursue the second one so intensely, you know, and we have more time freed up. What if we had one and that was enough? And this handful, if we got that handful, then it was freed up to help people who were in need. What if, you know, this hand was full, and by not totally going after this one, we have more time to give to God? Yeah, less is better, right? So we got to cut back. Next is got to clear out. We got to clear out. Cut back, clear out. A mentor was sharing with a pastor. He was his coach. And he said to the pastor, you need to clear out as if your life depends on it, because it does. And he looked at him and he said, to be a better husband, you want to be the dad you want to be the pastor you want to be, you need to declutter your life so that it frees up your heart for the people that matter. And so it frees up your mind so you can think clearly what God wants you to do. There's a lot of reasons, though. I mean, this is true, right? I get this. There's a lot of reasons why we gather. Some of us were poor. So when we gather, it helps us to feel better about who we are. You know, some of us, right? Some of us, we gather because you never know when you're going to need it. Some of us gather because someone we love dearly gave us that particular gift, and so we hold on to it. I purged my clothes 6 months ago, right? I went through 2 garbage bags full of clothes. And I don't even think clothes are that important. I mean, you got to wear them, but I don't think they're that important, you know? And so I cleaned out 2 bags of clothes. I still have 2 times as many. You say, how do you know that, Pastor Rick? The other day I went through my drawers, dresser drawers, in the closet looking for a shirt. I went, I don't have anything to wear. Are you kidding me? Hey, look, if you go down and you don't have anything to wear, then give it away, okay? Give it away. If you haven't worn it in 6 months, give it to somebody and bless them with it. Here's a tip, right? Here's a tip that keeps us living on less. If God blesses you with something, give 2 somethings away. Give 2 somethings away. You get it, and then you give it away. You give it away today. So 3 ways that less is more. So, I got to tell you this, okay? This is me being confessional. Okay, so I gather, just so you know, right? I'll tell you where I gather. In the garage. If you looked at our garage, it's a mess. My wife has nothing to do with it. It's all my construction stuff that I gather because you never know when you're going to need it, huh? I'm just saying. I have 13 of these. All the same length. That's just in the garage. I got 3 in the car. So this is what I committed to. I want to have integrity when I speak to you. This will go in the trash. This will get burned. Okay? Now, ironically, somebody came up to me and said, what are you doing with those 2x4s? How about you? What do you need to clear out? What do you need to clear out? What do you need to cut back on today? And keep record of it and let God hold you accountable to it. The last thing is pay off. Pay off. So just by raise of hand, how many of you would say to me today and agree with me today that financial stress is not fun? How many of you would say you've experienced it? Would you just raise your hand? How many of the couples that are represented in this room had one money fight this month? Would you raise your hand? Oh my goodness, some of you are lying. All 3 services. I'm like, come on, this is church, we can be honest. Yeah. So this is what the deal is, okay? This is what the deal is. Never met anyone that said, my debt brings me so much peace. Hey, I haven't met anybody that says, I love high interest credit cards. I'll tell you what I love more than that. You don't make the payment, they give you grace. They only give you a late fee on top of the high interest, that you get to pay. Never heard anybody say that brings joy into my life. You know what does bring joy? This brings joy. Being debt free. You know what brings joy? Beginning to live on what we make, not on what we can borrow. There's tremendous peace that comes from that. Now, this is what I want to say, because God could point out a lot of areas of our life. It could be time, it could be money, it could be our talent, where we're given our talent. This is all I want you to know, okay? When you go to make a change, which is what we're talking about, don't try to do it all at once. You just get frustrated, you get defeated. I wear this wristband, I don't know for how much longer, but this is a lesson I've learned in life recently, and I need to be reminded on a regular basis, whether it's a relationship that I have or something I'm trying to do for God. And it says simply this: small things, big difference. Small things, big difference. How do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. How do you eat debt? One credit card at a time. Cut that puppy up, don't use another one, and pay it down, Dave Ramsey calls it the debt snowball. Go on to the next one after you finish that one. I'm just getting so excited talking about this stuff today, huh? Less is better. Better is a car that's paid off than a brand new one with a $400 payment for 5 years. Better is a small house than fighting every month over a mortgage payment on a big house. Better is a little financial margin so that when someone comes into your life that's in need, you can give to them. It's better to have something you use and something you love and something that you enjoy rather than a whole bunch of stuff that just clutters up life. I put this down in my notes. The richest people in the world are not those who have the most. They are those who need the least. The richest people in the world are not those who have the most. There are those who need the least. My first mission trip to Haiti, God began to drive this home with me because I was with people who had less, way less, yet they had more. They had more in relationships, and they understood community better than I did, and they certainly had more passion when they came to worship God. Some days, they had no handful, and they were happy. I was there 3 days. Can I tell you what happened to my soul? I got jealous. I got jealous of their peace and the joy that they had in that community in Jacmel. Funny thing, we went to give to them, and they gave to us. That little is enough. And when you have each other in God, it's everything. And so I put this quote under point number 2. I didn't mention it there. I'll mention it here. A high standard of living does not equal a high quality of life. Give us this day our daily bread. It took on a different meaning in Jacmel, Haiti. It was manna living. And so my test of this value, the latest one, came last week. I was sitting in a Burger King parking lot in Batavia. My daughter-in-law was getting a car from Enterprise. I saw a man come down the street, and you ever have people approach your car, maybe in traffic or whatever, and they're just in need, and I knew he was coming, and I rolled down the window, and he said, my girlfriend kicked me out 2 days ago. He said, I haven't eaten for 2 days. Do you have any money? And I'm kind of past the point, like if God sets up those opportunities, but I wasn't going to give him a course in finances. I wasn't going to give him a counseling session to find out why they broke up. But I had $5 in my pocket that I planned on buying a junior bacon cheeseburger with. When he asked, I gave him the $5, and he said to me, God bless you. And I was like, what? No, you got this backwards. I'm blessing you. And I watched him smile. I watched in the rearview mirror as he walked into Burger King, bought a meal, sat down, and began to eat. And God blessed me. And God blessed me that day. Why does it matter? Why does it matter if we cut back, clear out, pay off? Because then we're just more available to God. That was Burger King. This is McDonald's. The dad took his son to McDonald's, 5-year-old son to McDonald's. The dad got a Big Mac and a Coke. The son got you better believe it. So halfway through the meal, the dad wanted a French fry. So he says to his son, can I have a fry? The son grabs his fries and says, get your own fries. As any good 5-year-old would do. See, this is what the kid didn't understand. He didn't understand the dad brought the fries, and he didn't understand the dad could take them back anytime he wanted. Okay, with a fight for a 5-year-old, right? Just leave their fries alone. But then I said, Isn't that how it is with God? He blesses us and then asks for a little back, and we say, get your own fries. And he's up there saying, wait a second, I blessed you with everything you have. And on top of that, I could take it back anytime that I want to. Lord, help us today. Help us with our bent towards materialism. God, would you help us today get our priorities right and figure out what we don't need and bless someone else with it? And God, help us understand how brief life is so that we don't get caught up in having one and then working for two, and in the meantime missing out on what's valuable to us in our life, because our life is brief.